So for the last part of this lesson, we're going to be talking about simplifying expressions, and we're going to combine and use the properties we've talked about to simplify expressions involving monomials. Okay, to simplify a monomial expression, you want to write an equivalent expression in which each variable base appears only once, okay, which means each variable is only going to appear once. So you couldn't have something like x squared times x cubed. We don't want that, okay? We would want to simplify that. There are no powers of powers, okay, which is what we just did in the last example, and all fractions are in simplest form. Basically, we're trying to do as much as we can in order to combine everything to get it down into one piece. So if we look here, this looks pretty messy. We've got the quantity of 3x, y to the fourth, all raised to the second power, multiplied by negative 2y, all raised to the second power, raised to the third power. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of break these apart into two separate pieces, and then I'm just going to multiply them together at the very end. This is probably the easiest way to do it because it keeps you from thinking of too many things at once. So here I have a product being raised to a power, which means I can think of this power being distributed to everything inside the parentheses. So I've got to do 3 raised to the second power, and then I'm going to get x raised to the second power, and then here I have y to the fourth raised to the second power, and which means I'm going to do 4 times 2 because it's a power of a power, so I multiply the exponents, and I get y to the 8th. Okay, I took each of these pieces inside the parentheses and raised them to the second power. And then I'm just going to rewrite this, do 3 to the second power because I know what that is. I get 9. And then I'm going to leave the other parts the same. X squared times y to the 8th. And then remember, we're going to be multiplying these two things together at the end. So I got 9x squared y to the 8th. Now I'm going to focus on this part on the right. I have negative 2y raised to the second power. I've got something inside parentheses being multiplied together, all raised to a power. So that means I'm going to have negative 2 raised to the second power times y raised to the second power. That's all going to be raised to the third power. I'm going to simplify this real quick because negative 2 raised to the second power is positive 4. Okay? The reason that is because I have negative 2 to the second power. That gives me negative 2 times negative 2, which is where I get the positive 4 because I have a negative times a negative equals a positive 4. So I get 4y squared all raised to the third power. Same thing that I did at the beginning. I've kind of got to distribute this exponent to the pieces inside. So when I do that, I'm going to get 4 raised to the third power times y. And notice I have y to the second raised to the third power. Power to the power means you multiply the exponents together. 2 times 3 is 6. So I get y to the 6th. All we did was we kind of distributed our exponent. Then I'm going to simplify this one step further. 4 raised to the third power gives me 64. So I have 64y to the 6th. Now remember, I said I wanted to multiply these two pieces together. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this part down here. 9x squared y to the 8th. And now I have 9x squared y to the 8th. I can multiply my constants together, and remember this is what we did earlier, rewriting things in order, so I'm going to write my constants first, 9 times 64, then I'm going to do variables in alphabetical order, times x squared, times y to the 8th, times y to the 6th. And this is not completely simplified, because if you think about what they told us before, we can only have each base appearing once. Notice I have 2 y's. So what I'm going to have to do is just multiply everything together that I can multiply together. I can do 9 times 64. That gives me 576. X squared, there's no other x's, so it's just going to stay x squared. Then I have y to the 8th times y to the 6th. I have the same base multiplied together, which means I'm going to add my exponents. 8 plus 6 is 14. So I get y to the 14th. And now this is a simplified monomial expression. Each variable appears only once and only have one constant. So what we got when we multiplied these two things together, we got 576, x raised to the second power, y raised to the 14th power. That's all there is for this section. We talked about multiplying bases together, which was our adding exponents rule. Then we also had our power of a power rule. And then we also had the rule that allowed us to distribute an exponent to multiple pieces inside parentheses, only if everything inside the parentheses was being multiplied. So 3 new ideas, along with the fact that we learned what a monomial was. So that's all there is. Go ahead and let me know if you have any questions.